Mhm. And you should let people in now.
Okay. Okay, welcome everyone. Hi, good evening or afternoon or morning, wherever you are. Welcome. We are still letting people in here. And as we do, before we begin, please, if you wish to, share your name and where you're from in the chat. And if you'd like, you can also say what brings you here today. This is the same intro that we did last week. So maybe your answer will be the same, maybe it will be different, maybe some people weren't here last week. So before we begin, okay. Oh, good. Okay, so we had the echo, but that's gone. So Greg from Lexington, curious. Okay, we had curious last time too. I don't remember if you said that or other people. We had a lot of curiouses last time, so welcome. Who else is here? Janet, Virginia. Welcome, Janet. Here for understanding and support. Beautiful. I hope you received that. Hello, Mark. Welcome. Yeah, same intro, meaning I'm inviting people to introduce themselves the way I did last week as well. Welcome, Linda. Welcome, Martin. And any shares about what brings you to this talk tonight? Tonight's talk is Prophecies, Premonitions, and Possibilities for the Future. That is the title of today. Christine from Missouri. Great, welcome. Great, inspired by last week. Awesome. So I think that we could begin. Is that okay? With the two of you, Kuya and Sharif? Okay, great. Welcome, everyone. So once again, we are here with Dr. Sharif Abdullah and Ilarion Kuyach, and I'm Olivia Frizau. I'll be moderating the discussion tonight as well. And this is the second of 3 events. So we had our first event last Thursday. There is a recording of that if you weren't present. So you can hear that after. And the last session will be not next Thursday because it's Thanksgiving, but the Thursday after, which is December 5th, and all on this same link. Welcome, Stacy. So again, it's the same format. It's going to be an hour and a half total. The first hour is going to be a discussion where Kuya and Sharif will be sharing and I'll be moderating. And then in the last half hour, we will have Q&A again. So feel free to, during the talk, maybe start collecting some questions. And then at the half hour left mark, I will ask you to submit them via the chat. Okay. So again, we also have the YouTube streaming if you would like for any reason to watch there instead. But we won't be receiving the chat from there, only from here. So if you do want to participate in the Q&A, do stay here. And if you are multitasking, you can go ahead and keep your video off. But if you are sitting and watching and focusing with us here, we do invite you to keep your video on so that there's more of a community feel, so we can all be a little bit, see each other better, be a little closer with each other. And Sharif, if you could please post in the chat a link or a button for donation. This is a free event, and if you wish to contribute anything that you feel called to or able to, Sharif will have something in the chat soon. And as he does that, I will go ahead and read Kuyach and Sharif's bios for anyone who wasn't here last week. Okay. So Kuyach is the founder of the Global Center for Indigenous Leadership and Lifeways, which is gsil.world, and the Wisdom Weavers of the World. He has led many organizations and gatherings, including the North American Gathering for the Healing of Mother Earth. He facilitated the Indigenous Sessions for the Global Gathering of Indigenous Peoples on Climate Change. And recently, he was the co-organizer for the Wild 12 Congress that involved representatives from 80 countries. Indigenous Ways of Knowing was at the center of the Congress deliberations. Shariff is the founder and executive director of Commonway Institute. Shariff has traveled to over 120 distinct cultures spanning 45 countries on every habitable continent. He uses his experiences as a lawyer and author, an activist, a world traveler, and a student of many wisdom traditions as he explores the role of intellect, spirit, imagination, stories, strategies, and structures for creating change and reimagining the future. Shariff consults with individuals, government agencies, businesses, and social service organizations working on the leading edge of change. Welcome, Kuya and Shariff, once again, and welcome everybody here. We're happy to have you back, those of you who were with us last week, and we're happy to have any new people as well. So, how about we start with Kuya? Will you do an opening prayer for us?
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. I'm glad to see you all. If you just take a deep breath and ground yourself. We are thankful for this day. We are thankful for all of our loved ones. We are grateful that we are gathered here today seeking answers to what we must do now, given all the challenges that we're facing in the world. We are thankful for all that we have been given because we have been given all we need. We are thankful for all that Mother Earth gives us, including Mother Earth's teachings, which are everywhere, including the teachings of our relatives, like that of the eagle, that teaches us that we too can soar high and see far. Like the owl that teaches us that we too can see in the dark. Like the trees that teaches us that we must be rooted in order to grow tall and be strong. These and countless other teachings that are inside and outside of us, if we have the ears to hear. And we are thankful for all the gathering of people of like mind and heart that are here today. Aho, kalako in these.
Aho. Thank you, Kuya. Okay, so I will open it up with a question for both of you. Kuya, I'd like to start with you, but the question then Shariff, please answer as well. And I'll go back to the title of this event, which is Prophecies, Premonitions, and Possibilities for the Future. So specifically, my question is, especially for you, Kuya, what are the indigenous prophecies about what we can expect globally during this time? And it can be about Mother Earth, it can be about issues in humanity itself. What, if you have specific cultures, please share about that, and also what might be some similarities between those messages. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that's a powerful question. First of all, Angwan, I said, hello, my other self. And I said, the evening tastes good, which is the way our people greet each other every day in Bering Sea. We're people of the waters. We are called Nungen, which we don't use the Western term Aleut, because that was given to us by our former oppressors. We use the Nungen, which means people by the sea. And we've been in Bering Sea for over 10,000 years, and we're still there. Okay, well, that's a big question. You know, the elders that I work with, we have called the wisdom weavers of the world, and they are elders from throughout the world. And we had our first meeting in 2017, and we did ceremonies in the morning in the different traditions that were there, and then during the day we talked. And we only asked two questions. What is the state of the world as we see it now? And what must we be doing now? And we filmed it, and it was shown by Reuters News Service during Earth Day in 2020, translated to 15 different languages, and seen by over 80,000 people the first day. So it was a good launch. They say, that we must change our consciousness now. And today's world, we're focusing from the mind, which is logical and rational, to the heart. And what we traditionally would do is go from the heart to the mind, and the mind's job was to implement that which your heart is telling you, and it's transrational. And that the elders say that is a sort of prophecy and also the truth from their perspective, that prophecies are not guaranteed to happen from the viewpoint of indigenous people. They are road signs along the way that if we go in this direction, we will experience this and that. It's a lot of common sense. And if we go another direction, we experience something else. And what they're saying now is that Mother Earth, she has always taken care of herself. For billions of years, she survived, and she's going to survive for billions more. She doesn't need humans to survive. That, for us to think that we will save Mother Earth is a height of arrogance. That, what we need to do as human beings is to remember who we are as human beings, which are simply someone who is present in the moment and in the heart. And the rest is going to be taken care of. And this is something that most people have a hard time accepting because we don't want to go back to the heart, which remembers and feels the traumas that we all experience in different forms. And because the memories of those traumas are too terrible, we don't want to relive them. But we indigenous people know that we're not reliving them if we stand outside of ourselves, looking at us today, dealing with the traumas that are coming in. We're a step away from the trauma, so we don't re-traumatize ourselves. And we must let those traumas go, and then the mind stops and we can listen to the heart. Right now, the mind, which is the center of ego, wants to talk so much because it's afraid it's going to die with your new direction. But it'll keep on chattering. It always lives in the past through guilt, shame, remorse, anger, rage, jealousy, all these different things that are in the past that live with us today, or fear, which is a projection to the future of something that hasn't happened yet. every place except the proverbial now. And what we're being called to do is come to the now. Because in the present moment, there is no time. In fact, it's we humans that invented time. Thousands of years ago, when we left our hearts and we became conscious of the passage of time. But when you're present in the moment, there is no time. And when you're in the heart, it is never fearful. It always guides us impeccably right. And so when you're in that place, you don't plan. Now, planning today is something that most people do out of fear or something like that, where you're worried about where you're going to get your money to help you and your family survive, or you're going to miss out on the right kind of job for you, or all these kinds of things that haunt us human beings. But it's the heart being transrational never concerns itself with these things that are to us illusion. They are illusions. The sages have said this for thousands of years, and so here we are now trying to figure out what we're going to do. And what the elders are saying is that Mother Earth, she has to do things now to shake off the things that are making her sick. And that she is helping us human beings by increasing her vibration that touches our bodies and pushes out those things that we have yet to deal with spiritually. Not religion, this is spiritual and physical, that it's pushed out of our subconscious mind so that we can see what we need to do. And Mother Earth is going to increase in her energy level. Many tribes across the world have the same prophecy, that there's going to come a time when if human beings don't listen to Mother Earth has to shake us off. And she will do that in a relatively short period of time. If we don't listen, they're saying that potentially billions are done visiting this world. And when I talked to Don Alejandro, who was the keeper of the day calendar for the Mayan, we spent a week together. He said, and on our final day, he said, this is going to be a hard time for people. And the ones that are going to negotiate this the best are going to be people of the fire, which means people of the heart. And that this is why Mother Earth is trying to help us go to the heart by helping us see what we have not dealt with in all of our lives that are now visible. And that so that we can deal with it, process it, and let it go. And many tribes across the world have these kinds of prophecies. But again, remember that these prophecies are not something guaranteed to happen. It just depends on the choices we make now. And the elders are saying that there is no singular guru alive now. We are all gurus. And they say the answers to what we need to do are in our hearts. And when you go to the heart, you will find your gift to give to the world during this time. I mean, all the elders that I talked with, they said, we're here at this point in time in human history for a reason, each and every one of us. And that if we are able to listen to our hearts as to what we must do, you will fulfill your mission on Mother Earth. And they're saying that, you know, we don't have much time left. And governments will not act fast enough. We've got to depend on each other now. And, you know, it's not something to be fearful of. This is a great time to be alive, from my perspective. That, you know, most of the elders, I would say all the elders, are very hopeful for humankind because they are sending emissaries all over the world and meeting with people, and they're finding out that there is a growing sense of consciousness by human beings across the Mother Earth. And there are probably millions, they say, that are shifting their consciousness. And now we are the ones that we've been waiting for. We are the ones we've been waiting for. So that's what I have to offer. And Olivia, it's yours.
Thank you, Kuya. Shariff, do you remember the question? Are you ready to answer? That's okay, great. Let's go to you.
I do. I'm ready. um, I guess one of the things that has always marked my conversations with Ilarion is how similar our thinking is. I shouldn't say thinking, our thinking, being, and acting. So rather, I'm going to say, yep, I agree with everything he said. And I want to take some of it a little bit deeper. There's listening and then there's listening. And many times we're listening sort of. We're listening with half our head because we're busy cooking dinner or we're thinking of other kinds of stuff, etc. Sometimes we're not listening with any of our head. We're listening for disagreements or listening to refute somebody else. Or we're listening through our culture. So I expect, because he's Native American, I expect him to sound like a Native American. I don't expect him to sound like this over here. So I can only hear him inside of a particular context. You can only hear me inside of a particular context. And so what I'm inviting you to do is expand those contexts. Okay. So when he said earlier, there is no time, that we invented time. Okay. That's so in your head, you could hear that as, oh, that's a cool, Native American truism, etc. But it's the exact same thing that quantum physicists are saying. But when a quantum physicist says it to you, you pull that in differently, and it's no difference. Okay, so we have to stop the filtering and start really listening, not trying to use our filtering apparatus to hear. One of the things that he said is something that I've been saying for about 40 years, and I want to be clear with this. We have erected a society where we depend on money. We depend on money equivalents. You depend on your job. You depend on your bank account. You depend on all this stuff. And what he's saying and what I'm saying is you can't rely on that anymore. You probably couldn't rely on it before, but now you can't. So, and when I say that, so many people come up to me after my talks and say, "Yeah, Sharif, where do you think I should put my money now that you say things are going to be getting so strange?" And I say, "Doesn't matter where you put your money. It's going to go away. It's okay. Oh wait, it's really okay. You should be asking yourself another question." And I said this in Creating a World That Works for All. I've been saying it in each of my books. And that is, your wealth is not in your bank account. Your wealth is in the number of communities you belong to. So a person who belongs to 2 communities is wealthier than a person who only belongs to 1. And guess what? If you don't belong to any community, you are poor. And if you've got $5 million in your bank account, you are still poor because the $5 million can go away. So back in the year 2000, I think it was, I was down in Argentina, and I got to see what it looks like when a, a culture's economy goes in the toilet overnight. So this was, Argentina was a very stable middle class society. And let's say that we're going to go out to a tango club. When I went to some tango clubs there, and you wanted some money to spend over for the night. So you go to your ATM and you stick your card in and you punch your PIN number, and nothing happens. And nothing happens forever. Forever. All the money you had in the bank is gone. And nobody can tell you where it went. What do you do when all the money that you have is in your pockets right now? And I can tell you what people did. I could tell you from what I saw with my own eyes. I saw people going through their neighbor's garbage looking for something to eat. And I saw them doing this by the thousands in Buenos Aires. Thousands of people, families, going through garbage looking for something that was edible. Now, we didn't see pictures like that on the BBC or CNN because we don't want to admit that that kind of thing can happen. Not only can it happen, it has happened. It's just that it hasn't happened to you yet. Now, you can hear this and then start freaking out and saying, "Oh my God, what are we going to do? Let's get a boat. Let's get out of here." Or what I would suggest is take a deep breath, calm down, make yourself a cup of peppermint tea, and say, where are the communities where I can start the process of building our lives in such a way that all of us can thrive, all of us can survive, all of us can grow. And when the money disappears, nobody notices. You stop having your faith in money or weapons or drugs or all the other things that we use to for our survival, and start the process of how do we create a world that works for all living beings from the mess we got right now. Now, that doesn't mean that we ignore the problems that are going on now. But what it means is that in a very particular way, the problems that we've got, that we seem to have, are the trigger points that spur us to a new society. So the things that we label as the problem, we start really understanding is really only what actually gets us to a new society. These are the points of birth that we're about to be born into something. This is the point where we hit metamorphosis. This is the point where you have the baby, okay? Now, anyone who's had a baby knows it's a messy process. Been there, done that, and it's messy. And at the end of it, you get a baby, okay? And you're happy that you got the baby. What many of us in this society are doing are triggering all the events that lead to the metamorphosis inside of this chrysalis. So caterpillar walks into the chrysalis, butterfly walks out. All the processes that happen inside is the dissolution of a society. And it's okay. That's how you get to the future. Unless you are holding on to your caterpillarness, in which case you're fighting a losing battle, and I will feel sorry for you. Only one or two things happens in the chrysalis. One is this miraculous transformation, from this 20-some-legged crawling, eating being to the winged beauty of a butterfly. That's one thing that can happen. The other thing that can happen is that everything inside the chrysalis dies. There's not a third alternative. Now, what I'm hoping that we do is open ourselves to understand the process, and we're in the middle of the process, and then start working together to get us to the place we need to be. And I'm willing to talk a little bit more about that, but I don't want to. I do want to break up our monologues here. So let me hand it back over.
Okay, maybe before you begin there, Olivia, I just want to add more that supports what Shariff talks about, and really it's about relationship. Relationship to self, relationship to family, relationship to state, relationship to country, relationship to the world, relationship to ultimately Mother Earth. It's all about relationship, and everything is interconnected. And I carry a story, a very old story, a long time ago, before the Great Ice Age. And the native people in the Western Hemisphere realized that there is something going to happen. And so they got together and to discuss what do they do in light of what they know about the climate changing so drastically. This is before the Great Ice Age happened. And they decided that they would cede loose jurisdiction to the Inuit, who understood how it was to survive in the cold. And the Inuit sent emissaries down south to help people understand how to survive in cold. And this was called the Grand Turtle Island Council. The hind legs of the turtle was Florida and California. The tail was Central America, and tied to the tail was a head. This involved people of the entire Western Hemisphere, and they realized that the most powerful thing that they had was their relationship with each other. And so they decided to create a very sophisticated barter and trade network all across Turtle Island, so that every native group understood how to connect with another. And they all agreed that they would participate in this plan, where some areas have certain kinds of food, certain kinds of medicine, certain kinds of song, and other areas may not have it during this time of the Great Change. And there would be areas where shortages occur. And so they decided to set up a very sophisticated barter and trade network all across Turtle Island with specific protocols. And this was before anybody had wars. The internecine wars we heard happened when the great masculine, in the native viewpoint, in the great masculine imbalance occurred several thousand years ago. The world had shifted, was like a pendulum. They went from male imbalance to female imbalance, to male imbalance to female imbalance. This happened since the beginning of time when we left our hearts. And so now we're in the time of masculine imbalance. The reason they call it imbalance is because we need the feminine. And you need, my elder, Rita Blumenstein, who's not alive today, she said, we need two wings to fly, one for physical, one for spiritual. And one without the other will not fly. And she is absolutely true, right. And so the thing about relationship is that we've got to look at everyone in the world as people who are struggling the same way we are, and they have the same concerns we do, and we've got to find ways to get together in mass amongst all these people to develop relationships so that we can minimize the damages that is going to be caused by people not listening, and therefore Mother Earth is going to exercise more of her power over fires and floods and earthquakes and volcanic activity and droughts, all these things. She had told the elder she is going to intensify these things far beyond what we see now. And so we must come to grips with this. And if you're serious about your spiritual development, then it is our hope that you get it together enough to realize that it is about relationship and we have to expand it worldwide. Now, the last thing I'd say about this is that the Colombian elders recently formed an elders council, and it's all the tribes in Colombia, 105 tribes. and it's composed of over 500 elders. These are spiritual elders who are in tune with what is happening to Mother Earth. And what they are asking others to do, mostly indigenous people, because indigenous people understand this, it would take much more time to explain it to non-indigenous people, but they are asking all these tribes around the world to conduct ceremonies together in synchrony with each other with the same intention, which is to create a vibratory field around Mother Earth of love. That now they're saying now we are tied together by a dysfunctional vibratory field. Now this borders and it goes beyond quantum physics. We are energy beings, and when we have mental, physical, and spiritual energies, and how we use it is more important today than it ever was before. And if you want to stop something like, trashing Mother Earth or destroying Mother Earth or whatever it is that you're trying to stop, the elders say, don't, you're pouring your mental, physical, and spiritual energies into stopping something, and it will make that thing that you're trying to stop bigger. And that what you do is, people of good mind and good heart are trying to stop things, but do not pour your mental, physical, and spiritual energies into that. Instead, focus on the world that you wish to see now, without reaction to anything. And so this vibratory field and relationship are very much tied together. Olivia?
Well, before Olivia goes, we are doing what we do in our regular telephone calls. Yeah, I agree with that. And let me say one thing, that this coming together that we're talking about is a coming together of a particular kind of consciousness, a particular way that you perceive the world. Now, I don't think anybody on this call would say, "Oh, I disagree with that. I don't believe that we should work together. I believe that we should work as individuals, etc." But we have to understand from the keeper perspective, from the indigenous perspective, and from this other perspective that I have been articulating, the holonic perspective, which is exactly the same thing, we have to understand that we're not talking about collections of individuals. What we're talking about is us sharing the same heart, us sharing the same mind. We get there in a number of different ways. We get there through ritual. We get there through eating the same food. We get there by hearing the same music. And we get there by responding appropriately to the same emergency. Look at what human beings do in an earthquake. All of a sudden, every possible way that we can view our separation disappears, dissolves instantly, and we will extend ourselves. We'll put our lives on the line for the life of the other, and that other is someone we don't even have to know. look at what happens when people do that in the earthquake-prone countries, where in Turkey, you just see it's almost like ants. You see people climbing all over this rubble, pulling out people that they know and also people that they don't know. We had the same experience in this country in the San Francisco earthquake, and I think this was in '88, when the 880 expressway pancaked down on the cars that were on it. And while the wreckage is still trembling, people were crawling up into the wreckage, pulling out survivors. They were putting their own lives at risk. And they didn't go to the wreckage and say, excuse me, are you a Democrat or are you a Republican? Because I'm only saving Democrats. I'm only saving progressives. They didn't go up and say, oh, are you white or Asian or black? Because I'm only saving people of my race. They didn't say, are you rich? Are you poor? That guy over there, he's trapped in a Mercedes, but I'm not going to save him because he can afford a Mercedes. All of a sudden, we instantly homogenize to something that I call holonic consciousness. We instantly get to the point of understanding who we are, who we really, truly are, and what's truly pulling at all of our hearts. Now, the problem, of course, is we don't maintain that. Somewhere in an hour or two or a day or two, we kind of go back to, well, I got to look after mine, what's good for me, is this person taking advantage of me, etc. So our goal in my organization, Commonway, is how do we extend that consciousness? How do we extend the consciousness, the let's call it the keeper consciousness? How do we extend that consciousness to include but go after the emergency? How do we make all of our decisions from that consciousness? Now, we know it's possible. Indigenous people have been doing that for, let's say, a few 100,000 years, okay, or more. Our oldest intact keeper culture on the planet are the people that we call Australian Aborigines. And they go back at least 40,000 years, and they're saying that they're finding evidence now of going back 100,000 years, a continuous culture for 100,000 years. Now, they probably know what they're talking about, a little bit more than us. And so what we need to do is humbly say, please help us understand this wisdom. Let us in the room. y'all are in the special room. Let us in the room. Let us work on, from our perspective, let us work on how do we develop this colony consciousness? How do we act like colony beings? How do we act when we don't have the example of like I wasn't raised in Ilarion's environment where I could look at the seabirds and see how they behave in the world. I'd look at the sea lions, I saw a sea lion in a zoo once, okay, but I can't get that, but I can listen to him when he says, this is how you live in your heart. This is how you respect all other beings. and that respect is more important than anything you think is important in your breaker society. Okay, I'm done. I'm not going to say another word.
Okay, so we have 10 minutes left until you open up to Q&A from the group. I would like to very quickly, and you guys have touched on this in different ways. I'd like to get basically 5 minutes each from each of you, more or less. Um, a question that I will ask after reviewing a little bit where we've been. Okay, so Kuya began explaining that a prophecy is basically explaining consequences based on specific actions that we take, right? If we do this, this is the consequence. If we do that, that's the consequence. And Kuya also mentioned that it does seem that humanity is shifting in consciousness, that there is a waking up that is happening. And Shariff talked about the butterfly, the caterpillar to butterfly. There's basically two options. You can either be goo and then be a beautiful butterfly, or you die in that process. And that as a metaphor of what our society, basically the two choices our society has. And both of you spoke about people getting together, having community to be able to survive. And also, Kuya mentioned synchronized ceremony as a way, not only the logistical connection between people for logistical survival, but also synchronized ceremony and the example of the Colombian elders as a way of shifting the energetic field. So, and sharing the same heart mind, as you said, Shariff, right? That was your version of it. You're talking about ritual or these shared experiences. So with all of that, you have touched on a lot of the potential, a lot of the hope, and a lot of maybe some hints. My direct question is, what would be the best case scenario here? Meaning, let's say there's a prophecy saying, if you do this, this is the terrible thing that's going to happen. You're going to die in the goo of the chrysalis. If you do this, this is the butterfly scenario. This is the timeline that you're going to be walking on, where you actually did figure out how to XYZ in order for the world that works for all. So what will it take for us to go down that road? What could that look like? 2 minutes for each of you. Does anyone want to start? Best case scenario.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I'm going to set myself an alarm clock because I think I could go off on this for a few hours. I'm going to give this 4 minutes. It may only take one. Everything that we need to do is preordained. What we need to do is pay attention. Every step that I take is going to do two things. It's going to build the butterfly. It's going to pull energy away from the former caterpillar. Now, we can't pretend that doing a particular action doesn't pull energy away from the caterpillar. We can't pretend that we can keep some of the caterpillar. We're going to basically have a caterpillar with pretty wings on it. Okay. No, it doesn't work that way. Say goodbye to the caterpillar. Now, people have been telling me how much they have been lamenting the past election, lamenting the election of Donald Trump, lamenting the enzymes that are entering our chrysalis that are dissolving the caterpillar. He has a role to play. He's playing his role right now, and he's dissolving the systems and structures that people have been relying on instead of relying on each other. Okay. I just heard something about him wanting to get rid of Social Security or Medicare or something like that. It's like, okay, you know, so we won't rely on that anymore. We're going to rely on each other. How do we rely on each other? I don't have the answer to that, but we are putting some of those answers in operation literally right now. We're going to put a group of people together, in whoever wants to come together, and we're going to say, this is how we are going to move forward in our community. We're going to start creating some consciousness entities. We're going to create some healthcare entities. We're going to create some food entity. A lot of us should be involved in food right now. You're not going to get your food from a supermarket anymore. Thank God. Okay? So it's like, oh my, Kroger's can't go away. What am I going to do for food? It's like you're going to rely on your community. Okay? How do we get our health care? You won't be able to rely on traditional medicine. Thank God. You're going to change that reliance to something else, to each other. I was in a meeting with, and I'm watching my time. I was in a meeting with a bunch of Burmese people, and it had to do with healthcare. And there's 50, 60 Burmese people in the meeting, and it seemed as though all of them were talking at once. But what they were doing was sharing their health care histories to find the best practices that they could practice among themselves. And the way we do it is I go into a room with somebody with a white lab coat on, and I believe anything they tell me to believe, and I take anything they tell me to take because my faith is in that system, and the system goes away, and you'll be better off for it. Okay. And I've got nothing else to say for 6 seconds. So I want to hand this back.
Clea, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, I agree with Shariff. And again, it boils down to relationship. I mean, my wife and partner is working with people from South America that are looking at creating a holistic thing involving people around the world for health. And that it doesn't use institution. These are people that do it because they love humankind. Now, the sages always said that we don't need to do love. We don't need to act love. We don't need to do anything like that. We need to be love. We need to become love. And that's a tall order for most people, but it is necessary because this is a time when it takes love. And the South Americans, they know that. The Colombian elders know that. Many nations around the world, of indigenous people, know that we must become love. And if we want peace in the world, we must be peace. We can't feel something that is against what we're doing, that it'll never happen. But if you be what you want the world to have, you will be amazed at the results that happen around you. That'll be the immediate affirmation. You will see people changing the way that they are around you without you interfering with them. And, you know, it's also important to note that, you know, Shariff and I, we can offer things, but whether or not you pick it up is your choice. And that is one thing that is given to us by, we call the maker, that we have free choice. And your choice is equally valid as my choice, and I have no business interfering with your choice. So, you know, the first thing that I learned is, you know, don't be concerned about how many people pick it up. That's none of your business. You can't change people. They have to make their own decisions. And so you just lay it out, and that's it. And that's what we're doing. So we're up to the hour now, I see. Olivia?
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we're going to open up to Q&A, and okay, so Shariff, I had asked him to, can you send on the group, Shariff, the donation link? I had mentioned it in the beginning, but we had a tech issue, so here it is. For anyone who wishes to make a donation to this event series, thank you. And while whoever is doing that, whoever wishes to consider asking a question, please do place your question in the chat and I will read it out loud. It can be for one speaker or both. And if there are similar questions, I might put them together. If there are no questions, I have some extras. So let's just take a moment. Okay, Christine has written something here. Let's see. Shariff mentioned last call about the D's document. I couldn't find it online. Do you know what that is, Shariff?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, the three.
And I had I mentioned that I'd written something about the three Ds, which is discipline, direction, and devotion. That if a movement doesn't have all three of these things, it ain't going nowhere. Um, and so Christine, I guess, looked for it and didn't find it because I don't think it's online. I will I will first of all find it. I've written a lot of stuff, and I need to go back through my stuff and find it. And I'll make sure that everybody who is online now will have access to it. Um, Hopefully, by the time this recording comes out, I'll put it in the comment section because I think it's well, I think it's pretty important. So I will do so.
Okay, thank
And
you. Anybody else? Does anyone have questions about this theme of the future, or a response, or maybe a clarifying question to what the speakers shared tonight already? It says, am I muted? Can you guys hear me? You can. Okay,
I
great.
can. Can I say something?
Yes.
Can I ask myself a question and then answer it? um, the We've been giving you a view of our futures. I've been doing that for a while. Ilarion's been doing that for a while, and now we're doing it together. And our views are in the hundreds of people. But if I put a cute kitten video up, it'll get 10 million hits. Okay, so maybe Ilarion and I need to get some cute kittens. Um, um, or maybe people need to pay attention differently. If you look on YouTube, there's an awful lot of videos on our future. Almost all of them are visions where you don't have a role in the future. One of the prominent visions is the Elon Musk vision of we're all going to just move to Mars and live in a hole. And that sounds like a good idea. And we need to respond to that in two ways. Number one, I don't want to go to Mars. I don't want to live in a hole. I don't want to live in a tin can for 2 years to get to a place where I got to live in a hole in the ground. Somebody help me with this. Now, if he wants to go, go. If there are people who want him to go, I vote for him to go. But what is the vision that's going to include all of us that will create the world that works for all living beings? That's the question, and clearly he doesn't have it. And the second thing that we the second vision or the second view of the future is we're all toast. Nothing's going to work. It's all gloom and doom. We might as well have a really big party or kill ourselves or whatever. And I ain't buying that one either. We can't leave our vision up to people who are deeply committed to the status quo that's killing us. Yeah, we've got another role to play. And once we start asking the question, no, actually more important than asking, once we are holding our own vision, once we're holding a vision of a world that works for me, for all of us, for all of humanity, and all living beings on this planet, then we're going to be moving in the right direction. Okay, that's
And I would add to that, we human beings, we think we're separate people, but I like to use the metaphor of a kitchen rubber glove. You blow it up, and these fingers think they're human when they're only one breath.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna read two messages in the chat. One says, Christine says, it sounds like a big undertaking. Actually, this is a question and then there's a comment. I'll read the comment and then the question. Okay. So Mark has a comment which says, I want to say that myself and a few others in my community just had a meeting this morning and decided to start a community of consciousness based on Shariff's recent book. And we are going to start inviting people to come to explore and live holonic/breaker consciousness. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Beautiful. Okay. Yes. Awesome. Shariff's putting his thumbs up. Okay. So I'm going to read both. There are two questions besides that comment. I'm going to read both questions because they have an overlap. Okay. So I'll read them in order. Here's the first one by Christine. Sounds like a big undertaking, but what tools and practices to break it down to cultivate relationship with our hearts? So what tools and practices could you suggest that would break down our capacity, that would give us some kind of a breakdown to cultivate relationship with our hearts? Any other practices that can cultivate what we are creating in our daily lives? Christine, I hope my both reading and paraphrasing was okay there. Okay, so by the way, everyone, next week is Thanksgiving. Our next session, which is 2 Thursdays from now, is going to be specifically about action. It's answering the question, what can we do? What can each of us do? Okay, so we'll have a little preview here because that question was already asked. So we'll do a little preview tonight. And then here's the second question. Already so many are suffering all over the world, and I mourn this. You sound so glib at the destruction. Do you have any concrete ideas for how to take care of the billions differently? So one is, what can we do? And the other one, this question, there's already a lot going on. How can we care for the collective? Who wants to start? Thank you for those who asked questions.
Go for it, Mr. Shariff.
What I want to do is read something to you from one of my books called The Chronicles of the Upheavals. And this is the fiction book. It's written from people 100 years in the future. Writing about this time right now. And it says, in this writing, we take on the task that many believe to be impossible, to accurately chronicle the times before, during, and after the great upheavals that engulfed humanity in the 21st century. The upheavals. As many as 4 billion humans died, almost 60% of the human population of this planet at that time. Having so many die in such a short period of time, from so many different causes, seemed like the end of the world to many, and in some ways it was. Although things have begun to stabilize, the suffering was and still is unfathomable. And I want to say that because I don't want you to think that because I'm talking about this, I'm being glib, or I'm being facile, or I'm being uncaring. It's because I've seen human beings eating out of garbage cans that I've been writing this stuff to try to get people to wake up. And it's hard for me to have seen this. And then I come over to people and I say, look, I've seen this with my own eyes. This is happening. It's happening right now. We need to do something. And have people say, thank you very much for Dr. Shariff for speaking to us today. And next week's speaker will be da da da. You know, we are not reacting. We don't react. And then when it happens to you, you say, why didn't you tell us? Or when I'm telling you right now, you say, oh, you're being arrogant. You're not seeing that we're doing all these wonderful things with fertilizer now or whatever. I've been doing this work now for 60 years. When I was 12 years old, I led my first demonstration to stop what's happening right now. So I've been at this for a long time. As Ilarion said, things are getting to a point where everybody's getting to see it. And we're acting like our elders have not been saying anything for a long time. I just know I have. I know he has. I know all of us have. The concrete ideas for how to take care of the billions of people on the planet right now who are already suffering, that answer is right here and present. But you have to get it out of your collective heart. You've got to stop. You've got to slow down. We have a meditation process where 10 minutes a day. And I can't tell you the number of people who say, oh, I'm too busy for 10 minutes. Okay. I can only say, okay, this is where the food and this is where the water is, and this is how you access it. and then have people say right back to me, oh no, it has to be easier than that. Okay. Um, so on the one hand, um, it's not being glib. On the other hand, it's not being gloom and doom. There's something that we can do. Um, what can I do? We wrote it in this book. And Mark and his group, thank you for writing that, Mark. This is first I've heard of it, so thank you. And I'm hoping that more and more people decide to do this. To say, I'm going to do something. I'm going to commit to 10 minutes. I'm going to commit to $20. Okay. It was a pretty amazing the number of people who did not contribute anything last time. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that to make you feel guilty. If you are not called in your heart to do anything like that, then don't. But then don't wonder why we can't get the word out. Don't wonder why the Coca-Cola company can spend, $10 million in advertising just for, one football game. Okay. Now I know that Ilarion has this kind of money, but I don't. I don't have it, and we need to. Okay, I want to say one more, and I've been meaning to start my timer to keep my mouth from continuing on, but I was talking to a guy, someone I know, and I mentioned that he should buy my book, and he says, "Oh man, I'm just struggling. I'm just suffering. I don't have the money for it." Yeah, okay. So we're talking, and then he mentioned, "Oh, are you going to the concert where some group is playing?" Me and my girlfriend are going. Well, the tickets are $150 a piece. And a few seconds earlier, he says, "I don't have any money, and I'm just trying to survive." Now, what he meant was, I don't have any money to spend on that, to spend on our future. But for a concert, hey, yeah, I'm going to actually buy a new suit. And so our challenge is, how do we come together past all of our separations and start the process of a whole new civilization? Start doing that pretty quickly.
Okay, well, I've been to over 200 funerals in my time. I've seen people who died from diseases, from violence, from dysfunctions like complications due to alcohol and all these kinds of stuff. And I certainly wouldn't minimize what these deaths are. But when you're in your heart, it understands what that death means. It's the only place that understands what death means. And my elders say, the what do you call that? The Dalai Lama had been coming here for a long time to celebrate and to anchor the kind of energy that they've been keeping for a long, long time. And that Mother Earth has chakras, and just like we do, we call them spinning wheels, and that the Dalai Lama and his followers were keeping the seventh chakra clean. Seventh chakra, for those of you who don't know, is right at the top of the head. When babies are born, there's a soft spot up there, and that's wide open. It's a place of connection with the divine. And that seventh chakra was shut down through invasion and disruption by the Chinese, and that gave and that was a feminine chakra or masculine chakra that went from Tibet all the way down the mountains in Africa. Now it shifted to the female or feminine side from Alaska down the Andes Mountains. And the purpose of the seventh chakra, you've got to keep it clean, otherwise it won't function. And the elder said, you know, people, why do people, they wonder if it's feminine, then why is it that we have banking and oil development and forest operations and all these kinds of things? And he said, well, they're just trying to find their female self. Think about that. But the real reason why people are coming to Alaska is so that they can be prepared to help people transition into when they die. This is a fact, and you don't have to believe it or not. It's something that we know because, and that's affirmed by the Dalai Lama and his followers. And now they even did a San Mandela in the local museum here. It was very well broadcast. And the sands of the Mandela were placed in secret locations amongst the sacred mountains here in Alaska. But the ultimate answer to what we must do, or we can do if we choose to do it, is to go to your heart. Your heart is not fearful, and it understands death. If you want to see how it really is for yourself, you're all on a sacred path, and your sacred path is equally valid as my sacred path. There's no more, no less. And when you follow your sacred path, you will find why you want to be here during this time in human history. And you're going to find your gift to give to the world during this time. People might say, well, that's too big an issue. No, that's why we need each other. Elders say the time of the lone wolf is done. It's done. And time for secrets is done. We've got to show the world the truth and not keep any secrets anymore, not even our ceremonies. And so it's about relationship, sharing with each other. Okay, Olivia.
Thank you, Kuya. So I'm going to read two more things in the chat. If anyone has any final question, each of the speakers has about 1 minute to answer it because we do need to close. But if you've been waiting, we could maybe do one last really quick one. Otherwise, I'll just read what's here and then we'll start to close, okay? So Mark wanted to share a reminder. Margaret Mead's quote, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." Very apropos to what our speakers have been sharing here today. And Christine wants to share that, Kuya, the very next night after Ilarion mentioned it, so last week's talk, I started taking an hour to do gibberish for 30 days to cultivate getting out of my head and listening to my heart. So beautiful. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so no one slipped in to try to get one last question. So we will close now. So some closing announcements. Shariff, can you confirm that yes, we will also be sharing a recording from tonight to the email list?
Yes,
Yes,
so
yes. Oh, go ahead.
everyone is who is registered will get the recording, and I'll get that processed faster than I got the last one processed. For those of you who are listening on the um, um, on YouTube, the live stream, you'll get a recording of the live stream, which the quality is not as nice as what we've got in the Zoom, but it's going to be better than not having anything at all. So if you're registered for on my channel, you'll get the announcement for where to get the link for that.
Okay, great. Okay, and the next the last of this series, the third meeting will be again not next Thursday but the Thursday after, which is December 5th, on the same Zoom link that you used for today and for last time. Okay, and so we did this last time, but in case there are any new people, Kuya and Shariff, do you want to share how people can stay in contact with you or learn more about your work? Or maybe there's something you could put in the chat about that.
I'm just going to fill up your chat. I just did. And if you want to preserve all of those links that I just put in the chat, um, make sure you save chat before we end this call.
Okay, and then Shariff, maybe you could put the donation link one more time because in case
I
anyone
will
hadn't gotten to it, now there
do
is a
that.
lot of chat.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah, I will. Uh,
Okay, and
to
Ilarion, Kuya wrote in the chat for me, go to gsil.world. So that's a website. Okay, some people don't know that it can end with .world. So it's www.gsil.world. Okay, okay, great, Shariff, thank you. So Shariff, will you please do our closing? Thank you, everyone. And thank you,
I
Kuya and
will.
Shariff.
Yeah, I will be glad to. Last time we said thank you to you, Olivia, but you had already gotten off the line. So I want to lead this time by saying thank you to you. This is, like I said, I was watching you trying to jump in while he and I were um, going with each other, not going at each other. And it's not an enviable task, so I really appreciate it. Larry, do you want to say anything in terms of thanks for her? Actually, thank you for introducing me to her. Yeah,
Yeah, well, vibrationally, she understands how much I thank her.
excellent, excellent.
And thank you to both
So
of you.
let's go ahead and wrap up now, and we're going to wrap up with what I call our inclusivity mantra or inclusivity prayer. This is the prayer that anyone can make, including an atheist. Um, it has nothing to do with your theism, it has a lot to do with your heart. Um, and it's based on a Buddhist prayer. And the first part is, may I be well, may I be secure, may I be happy. Put the oxygen mask on yourself first, then you can help others. Second part is, may you be well, may you be secure, may you be happy. And you aim that to someone who you think needs to be well, secure, and happy. Um, The third is, may we be well. All of us on this call and all of us would be affected by this call. May we be well. May we be secure. May we be happy. And then finally, every single being on this planet, may all of us be well. May all of us be secure. May all of us be happy. So you can repeat that to yourself or not as we go through this. May I be well. May I be secure. May I be happy. May you be well. May you be secure. May you be happy. May we be well. May we be secure. May we be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be secure. May all beings be happy. Thank you. And I wish all of us well. And I look forward to talking with us 2 Thursdays from now. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
See you, see you, see you. Fare thee well. Off we go. And I will end our call right here.